And as we just heard, the talks between the U.S. and Iran are taking place in Geneva today, led by U.S. Envoy Steve Witfkoff. Joining us now to discuss is John Deaton. He's a former U.S. Marine and an attorney at Deaton Law Firm. Thanks for joining, John. Your expectations for today's meetings in Geneva?
My expectations is to find out if Iran is actually going to engage in serious talks, because you got to understand this is very different than the past. The United States is not seeking a sunset provision, which means, hey, we'll revisit this later. They're basically saying to Iran, you have to behave and give up your desire for a nuclear weapon forever, and you have to stop arming the Houthis or Hezbollah and all of those things. And so we're going to find out. This is really gunboat diplomacy is how I would describe it, because we have the largest buildup of military in the region since we invaded Iraq.
Yeah, that's right. A second aircraft carrier, the largest one in our fleet, moving into position. The other one is not at port, right? It's out at sea, fully ready. And all of this started when the protest happened, and then Iran started killing their own protesters. By their own admission, they killed 3,000, while in the State of the Union, Trump put the figure at 30,000. What do we know about the situation on the ground right now in Iran?
Well, we know that the 3,000 figure from Iran is very low, and that it's somewhere between, 10 and 70,000 that have been executed for protesting for freedom. And what everyone needs to understand, when I say military buildup, you're right. It's two aircraft carriers, the Gerald Ford, which is the most sophisticated in the world. But it's not just that. There are 14 additional warships that have been sent. We have not just that, air power. We have F-22 Raptors and F-15s that have been sent to Israel that are on standby. But more importantly, even massive reinforcement, tankers that have refueling capabilities, B-2 bombers, F-35s, electronic jamming aircraft. This is a sign that basically is saying, if you don't honor the deal that we're giving you, we're not negotiating, you're either going to give up permanently your desire to enrich nuclear capabilities, or we're going to attack. That's really where we're at, and it's going to be very interesting to see if Iran gives in.
Yeah, to your point, John, they're in their diplomatic channels using all different types of rhetoric, accusing the United States of a variety of things. Ultimately, do you expect military or diplomatic conclusions to what's about to happen?
With this kind of buildup and seeing so much of our military headed that way, it really signals that we are going to engage in some type of bombing, some type of air campaign. Sending that kind of refueling capability signals a sustained air campaign. Iran's basically is fighting for what's called token enrichment. They want to say, hey, we want to be allowed to enrich uranium for, nuclear power, not nuclear weapons. And the United States has taken this position that, no, we want zero enrichment. And, you got to give it up now. We're tired of managing Iran. We want to eliminate the threat forever. And if you listen to Iran's rhetoric, they're not going to do it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a sustained, 2-3 week air campaign.
And when we look at the way that Trump and Netanyahu have described Iran, Trump has said things like, ultimately, regime change is probably the best thing in the long-term interests of the U.S. and the free world. And Netanyahu has even said, cut off the head of the snake. So in the event that there is military engagement, what is the best case scenario and what is the worst case scenario? Because you always kind of plan for what the worst thing could be, knowing that they have, all different types of weaponry and those can be shot at from pretty much any remote area of the country.
Well, I'll take the worst case. Great question. I'll take the worst case scenario first, which would be, any American soldier, sailor, Marine losing their life in this campaign, or the loss of civilians as well, in any kind of retaliation by Iran. And of course, if Russia or China were to somehow try to support Iran in any way. The best case scenario is basically a pincer movement. What that really means is you have the United States basically cutting off all economics for Iran, including taking out ghost ships. China will have these ghost oil tankers that will take Iran's oil, and that is a lifeline for them. The United States is cutting that off. And while we're doing that and causing an economic collapse from the outside, you have this internal conflict of illegitimacy from the inside and the protest, basically giving the Iranian people the courage that the United States will be there for them to take control and have regime change from internal.
And John, if we do act militarily, economic retribution against the U.S., jacking up the cost of oil by making the passage of the Strait of Hormuz impassable, what opportunities do we have, or what tactics do we have to make sure that the oil flow continues and we don't see a big spike in gas prices?
Yeah, I think we would see a spike, especially if Iran had taken out some kind of refineries, that add to the supply of oil we use. But the United States right now, through deregulation and other efforts, we have enough independence to sustain ourselves for a while. There would be a temporary, I think, increase in oil prices and gasoline prices. There's no doubt, these corporations might even take advantage of the chaos to jack prices up. But I think that after several weeks of the type of air campaign that I'm envisioning that the United States is capable of, I think Iran would then come to the table.
So much to look out for. It should be happening here within the next few days at this point. John Deaton, really appreciate your analysis. Thank you.
Appreciate being with you. Thank you.